Hello, hello. Hello, guys. Welcome to your second part, to the second part of solving equations involving fractions. Last time we learned how to solve one-step equations involving fractions, and this time we will be doing two-step equations involving fractions. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we have a two-step equation that has fractions in there. There's nothing to be afraid of. We just solve them normally like we were solving two-step equations with only integers. Except here we are also dealing with rational numbers. Rem One thing you need to remember that whatever is attached to the variable, we need to save it for last. Okay, so in this case here, the first thing we want to get rid of is the half. Now, before I do this, because I'm dealing with fractions, let's go ahead and change everything to improper. So I will rewrite this as 4b minus half equal 4 times 832 plus 537 over 8. Now I can go ahead and solve. Let's get rid of negative half. Since it's negative, we need to turn it to positive. So we need to add a half on both sides. Bring down 4b. Now we need to remember that when we are adding fractions, they must have the same denominator. So can I turn 2 into 8? Yes. So how? By multiply by 4. Great. So this will become 37 over 8 plus 4 eighths. And now we can go ahead and add them to get 41 over 8. Okay? Now, because this is a fraction on the other side, I'm going to also change 4 to a fraction, put it over 1. So technically we will be dividing by 4, but since this is a fraction, we know when we dividing by a fraction, we are really multiplying by its reciprocal. So here I'll go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal, which will be 1 over 4 on both sides. And now you can see clearly how the 4 cancels out. And then we just multiply. Nothing here can be cancelled. So 41 times 1 is 41. 8 times 4 is 32. And here we end up with an improper fraction. We can change it to a mixed number if we want. 32 going to 41 one times, and the remainder is 9. And that will be the answer right there. Now, this is one way to solve it. I will show you another way to solve it on the other side, like by getting rid of the fractions from the beginning. Okay, so let's pay attention to this one. Alright, so I'm going to rewrite this whole fraction. I'm going to start with here. Okay, so this will be 4b minus half is equal 37 eighths. Alright, we know 41b is over 1. So we have 1, 2, and 8. And the LCD here will be 8. And the common denominator here will be 8. So I can multiply the whole thing by the common denominator. So I multiply this by 8 to get 32b. Okay, I multiply half by 8. Again, half of 8 will be 4. So I will get minus 4. And then multiply 8 over here. When we do times 8, 8 will cancel to be left with 37. Okay, so that's one way we can get rid of the fractions, is to multiply everything by the common denominator. Not just this side, not just this one, everything in the equation. Okay, so here now we can solve it normally, right? So again, we add 4 and bring down 32b is equal to 41. And now the next step here will be to divide by 32. 32 cancel, and b is equal to 41 over 32, or 1/9 over 32. Okay, two different ways to solve. Here we just went ahead and dealt with the fractions. Here we got rid of the fractions so we didn't have to deal with them. Okay, two different ways to, but you need to make sure you understand both concepts on how to solve them. Alright, so let's move on to the next example. Alright, so here again we have fractions, again rational numbers, same thing, but let's go ahead and get rid of any mixed numbers that is in the equation. So this will turn into 2/3 times m plus 1/8 equal 3 times 4 12 plus 113 over 4. Okay, so 2/3 we have to leave it for last because it's attached with a variable m. So let's go ahead and get rid of 1/8. So we need to subtract 1/8 this time. Okay, so bring down 2/3 times m is equal to, now again we are subtracting, so we need to make sure everything has the same denominator. So can I turn 4 into 8? Yes, so that will be times 2 times 2, and we get 13 times 2, which will be 26 over 8 minus 1/8. So we're left here with 25 over 8. Okay, now the next thing to do here will be to multiply by the reciprocal. Technically we are dividing by 2/3, but because it's a fraction we want to multiply by the reciprocal, which will be 3 over 2. And 3's cancel, 2's cancel. Okay, now these guys have nothing in common, no common factors, so we have no choice but to multiply them and deal with big numbers. So 25 times 3, that will be 75 over 16. Okay, and then we can get a, and then we can change this to a mixed number if we want. Okay, all right, let's do the other way to do this. Again, as always, we can always get rid of the common denominator. Okay, so for this one, because we are dealing with three fractions, I will show you guys how we find the common denominators of all three in class. So let's move on to the next example. Alright, so here is another one. Go ahead and try this by yourself, pause, and then come back to get the answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve it together. Again, there's a mixed number. Let's change it to improper. So let's rewrite the whole equation. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay, now we need to get rid of, again, 7/10. Whatever is attached to the variable, don't touch it yet. Do it last. So we subtract 7/10. Again, on both sides of the equation. These guys are opposite. They will cancel. And now we cannot just go ahead and add. Again, they need to have the same denominator. Can I turn 2 into 10? Yes, by multiplying them by 5. So here I'll get 35 over 10 minus 7/10. And 35 minus 7, that will leave us with 28 over 10. Okay, this one we could reduce, but let's leave it alone for now, and let's reduce everything at the end. Okay, so here we want to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal to cancel out the 3 and to cancel out the 2. Alright, now here 28 divided by 2, we know that's 14. Okay, and then 14 and 10, we can also, let's use a different color. Alright, so here we get 14 when we cancel out 28 and 2. And then 14 and 10, we can also reduce it by taking out a 2. So I will end up with 7 over 5. That saved me from dealing with big numbers. And now I can just go ahead and multiply them. 7 times 3, we get 21 over 5. Okay, and 5 going to 21 4 times. Remainder 1. Okay, and that right there will be the answer. You could get 21 over 5. That will be the reduced fraction, or change it to a mixed number, 4 and 1/5. Right, let's move on to the last example. Alright, go ahead and try this by yourself and then come back and get the answer. Let's switch ink. Okay, so here again in this case 7x is in the middle, so still we do this one last. There's no mixed number here, so we just do it normally. Subtract 1/4. Okay, and 1/4 cancel. We're left with 7x is equal to, here we need to make sure we get the LCD of 4 and 6, and that will be 12. Again, we want to make sure we are using the least common multiple, so we can do times 2 times 3 to get 10 over 12 minus 3 over 12. So that will be 7/12 when we subtract. Okay, again, because we have a fraction on this side, let's go ahead and turn this into a fraction again. 7 over 1. So to get rid of the 7 over 1, we multiply by its reciprocal. Okay, and 7 cancel, 1 cancel, and x is equal to, oops, look, we can cancel things here. 7 and 7 cancel here, so we're left with 1/12. Okay, very simple. Also here we could have multiply everything by 12 to get rid of those fractions. Okay, that's it. So please remember to post your questions on Edmodo and come to class prepared with your questions, and make sure you guys really practice these, because we will be doing a lot of practice in class. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye bye.